All right, welcome to your weekly AI explainer for week 16 of 2026. And wow, what a week. It feels like the tension between the promise of AI and the fear of it just exploded. We're not talking about online arguments anymore. This stuff spilled over into the real world, right up to the front doors of the people building it. It's pretty fitting that Sam Altman himself kind of set the stage for all of this. He recently called the high-stakes power struggle in AI a ring of power. And honestly, that's the perfect theme for what we just saw play out. It was a week all about acceleration, intense rivalries, and some very, very real consequences. Okay, so let's get right into it. First up, we've got to talk about how AI is no longer just a digital thing. It's hitting the streets, impacting our physical world in ways that are frankly both shocking and, in a strange twist, incredibly helpful. And we have to start with this truly stunning event. A 20-year-old was arrested for throwing a Molotov cocktail at Sam Altman's house. I mean, just think about that. The suspect, who apparently went by Butlerian Jihadis online, didn't stop there. He also threatened OpenAI's headquarters. There were even reports of a second attack involving gunshots. And Altman's reaction to all of this? He basically said, you know what? The anxiety people feel about AI, it's justified. And that anxiety he's talking about, it is definitely not some fringe opinion. Get this, 4 out of every 5 Americans are now worried about AI. That is a massive number. It shows you just how mainstream this concern has become. So on the one hand, you have this intense physical anger towards AI, but on the other, millions of us are, whether we realize it or not, feeding it the data for its next big breakthrough. A new study from Penn is a perfect example. They're using a technique called computational social listening. It's a fancy term, but what it really means is they're pointing AI at huge online discussions, like on Reddit, to see what it can find, to spot patterns that no human ever could. And when I say huge, I mean it. Researchers fed the AI more than 400,000 Reddit posts. All of them were about those popular GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Mounjaro. They were basically just listening in on what real people were actually saying about their experiences. And this is where it gets wild. The AI found stuff that formal multi-million-dollar clinical trials totally missed. It flagged side effects like menstrual irregularities and hot flashes that weren't even on the drug labels. And fatigue? Turns out that was the second biggest complaint, but it's barely even a footnote in the official trial data. One of the authors said it best. It's like plugging into a neighborhood grapevine for the entire planet, hearing all the real-time patient notes. Okay, so from the streets, let's pivot to the corporate battlefield, because at the same time all this is happening, we got a new report that shows this huge widening gap between the people who build AI and, well, the rest of us. The rivalry between the two biggest players, OpenAI and Anthropic, really heated up this week. It got spicy. A leaked internal memo from OpenAI just went for the throat. They called Anthropic a single-product company in a platform war, claimed they were inflating their revenue numbers by billions, and even said Anthropic's whole safety pitch is just built on fear. And this is all happening while Anthropic is apparently struggling with its own compute shortages and throttling access for users. So you have this corporate drama, right? But it's happening against this really weird backdrop that Stanford's new AI index just laid bare. Here's the paradox. Global AI adoption just crossed the 50% mark. But at the exact same time, public trust in AI has tanked to just 31%. We're using it more than ever, but trusting it less and less. And here's the stat that really blew my mind. The report shows this massive divide on how AI will impact jobs. 75% of AI experts, they're optimistic. The public, only 23%. That's not just a gap, that's a canyon. It's the biggest it's ever been, and it goes a long way toward explaining that tension we were just talking about, the tension that leads to Molotov cocktails. So, this growing divide between the insiders and the public, it's actually fueling a whole new kind of arms race. And it's happening in 2 absolutely critical areas: cybersecurity, and believe it or not, quantum computing. Check this out. Both OpenAI and Anthropic dropped these incredibly powerful new AI models built for cyber defense, but their strategies could not be more different. OpenAI is releasing its model GPT 5.4 Cyber to thousands of people, saying, hey, defense is a team sport. Anthropic, on the other hand, is keeping their model Mythos super restricted, giving it to only about 40 trusted partners. And Mythos is apparently so powerful, it prompted an emergency briefing with the Treasury Secretary. Wild, right? And while all that's going on, the king of AI chips, Nvidia, is making a huge play. They're basically trying to own the next wave of computing. They just released open-source AI tools for quantum computers. The playbook is pretty clear here. They want to become the operating system of quantum machines. They're trying to corner the market before it even really exists. Look, this acceleration we're talking about, it's not just some abstract idea. It is causing real, immediate shockwaves in the economy. It's changing how companies operate, and it is absolutely impacting jobs. If you want one story that perfectly captures the AI hype cycle we're in, this is it. Remember the sneaker company Allbirds? They IPO'd at a $4 billion valuation. Recently, their brand assets sold for just $39 million. So what did they do? They completely pivoted. They sold the brand, renamed the company Newbird AI, and became a business that just rents out GPUs. And Wall Street's reaction? The stock shot up over 600%. You can't make this stuff up. At the very same time, Snap laid off 1,000 people. That's 16% of their entire workforce. And the CEO didn't mince words. He came right out and said that AI boosted productivity so much that they could make those cuts. So what's the takeaway here? It's pretty clear. The market is cheering for two things right now. Companies that completely change their business to be about AI, and companies that use AI to lay people off. It really throws that gap into sharp relief, doesn't it? The one between what investors love and what workers are getting more and more afraid of. Okay, for our last section, let's talk about the AI models themselves, because we're starting to see a really clear split emerge. A split between the AI you and I can use and the truly cutting-edge stuff that's being kept under wraps. First step, OpenAI just made a massive move with its Codex platform. It's not just a tool for writing code anymore. They're turning it into an integrated platform that can actually use your computer, run multiple agents at once, browse the web, generate images. They're not being subtle about it. They want to build an AI super app that does everything. Then Anthropic fired back. They released their new public model, Opus 4.7, and yeah, it beats its public competitors. But take a look at the chart. Their private model, Mythos, scores 77.8%. That's a huge leap over what they just released to the public. This is really one of the first times we're seeing this gap quantified so clearly. The gap between the frontier models and the stuff they let us use. And to cap off the week, OpenAI revealed what looks like a whole new strategy. On Tuesday, they gave us the cyber defense model. Then they launched GPT Rosalind, an AI specifically for life sciences that can outperform 95% of human scientists on certain tasks. The message seems to be that the future isn't one single giant AI for everything. Instead, it's going to be a whole team of specialized, super smart models for different industries. So this all brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? On one side, you have public fear turning into actual violence, and on the other, you have experts using these tools to make these incredible leaps in science and business. It really boils down to the big question of our time. Who's right? Are people right to be afraid, or are the experts right to be so optimistic and push forward so fast? I don't think there's a simple answer, but it's the question we all have to grapple with now.